You're listening to the Latinx Business Podcast, where we uncover the business unknowns through the stories and anecdotes of entrepreneurs and business owners in the Latinx community. I am your host, Randy Gomez, and I hold a Master's in Business Administration. I also hold an IRS enrolled agent license, which allows me to help freelancers, partnerships, and corporations in navigating the complex tax law system of America. Thank you for joining us. Now let's talk business. Good morning, Jean. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you, Randy?
I'm
Nice seeing you.
good. Yes, thank you for coming on the show. I'm really appreciative of your time. I know you're a super busy CEO, right? So any person that comes on the show, I'm very grateful for their time, right? But yeah, let's get right into it, and we'll go through some basic questions like what's your preferred pronoun? You know, go ahead.
Yes. So prefer is she and ella.
She and ella. Okay, so we'll make sure to use those two throughout the show. And then within the Latinx community, how do you identify? What's your identity culture?
Oh, so I'm a Colombiana. I'm from
Oh, okay.
Colombia, South America, and I I'm an American citizen, but I all love to Colombia.
I like giving people information about your background and your heritage, right? So
hmm
both of your parents are from Colombia, and were they like first generation? Are you second generation?
So I was born in the U.S.
Okay.
And my family, my father and my mom, came from Colombia to the U.S. like many of our parents do,
Yeah.
to save money and go back. Well, my family chose to go back to Colombia. My
hmm
father is a farmer. My mom is a homemaker. So I lived here until I was 2 years old. Went to Colombia. I love to say that I rode donkeys to school, Randy,
Oh
and
my
I was
God.
attacked by roosters. Okay,
Yeah, I
I
bet.
did, and so when I was 15 years old, I came from Colombia to the U.S. because the political instability, and I also, as part of that journey,
Yeah.
I Spanish was always my first language, so I had to learn English when I came from the U.S. from Colombia. So don't use any slangs because I visualize everything. So if I say it's raining cats and dogs, I'm going to be looking for the cats and dogs from the sky.
Yeah, of course. No, that makes total sense. I remember growing up myself. I also, Spanish was my first language as well. It's the only thing we spoke at home, right? So I'm super comfortable with it now. But growing up, I was like, oh, wait, now I have to learn English. And I was like, why is this so hard compared to like Spanish is easy to pick up, right? Like the words are written the way they sound. And till this day, like my mom speaks only Spanish at home, right? I love that. I mean, I love my culture and I love Spanish so much. Thanks for providing that information. A couple of questions then, because you're an entrepreneur, right? So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you became an entrepreneur. Yeah.
My family, my father in Colombia, my mom, like I said, my mom was a homemaker. My father is a farmer. He's actually 88 years old, Randy, and he's still managing the farm in Colombia. I
Wow.
can't keep up with him. I mean,
Que
literally.
aguante, que aguante.
Oh yeah, no le aguanto para nada. And,
Yeah.
and so I came from a family. My father, he never believed in working for anybody else. So that's kind of where I
Yeah.
never knew what I wanted to do. But sometimes you're put in circumstances that will force you to explore things. So for me, is I was in the corporate world. I was, six figures, and sometimes you come across not so fun people to work for. So I had one of those, and I literally decided to take a leap of faith and leave my six-figure jobs overnight to start the company.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how you got, because I remember in the information that we were exchanging, you were first in the Navy, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how the Navy transitioned into your corporate job, and then we can, I think I kind of skipped that, so I
Oh no,
apologize.
no.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, go for it.
that's a great segue. I joined the military for money for college, as many
Hmm.
young kids do,
Yeah.
and I truly believe that that having the military experience, it really taught me to have perseverance,
Yeah.
discipline, commitment. And so it really positioned me to have that kind of discipline that I needed to have for the first 2 years of having a business, because the first 2 years is very hard, and often you want to just give it up,
Yeah.
and go back to the corporate world. So it really kind of gave me that push and that discipline that I needed to do the business.
Tell us a little bit about so the discipline and the training from the Navy is really what kept you going in the business, right? How long have you been in business now?
Almost 10 years.
10 years. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your business, what it is, what kind of services you guys provide, and why you love it, right?
Well, I let me take a little bit of a step back and tell you a little bit of history with the company,
Okay.
because I believe that we are the ones holding ourselves back from taking that leap of faith. Primarily because, anytime, and it happened to me, when you're making six figures and your husband's making six figures, and you have a dream house. I had just adopted a baby with my husband. So it's really hard to take that leap of faith and say, you know what, I am going to try something else. I found myself basically saying, you know what, there's no such a thing as plan B if I'm committed to plan A. So as an entrepreneur, that's the first thing that I committed myself to. But also, I don't know if you're familiar with people where you share with them something that you're going to do, and they do the teeth sucking. Have you heard that? Like,
Oh yeah. You're like, should you really be doing that?
you're gonna leave making 100 something thousand dollars a year, and you're in full confession. My husband even asked me, "What's your plan B if this whole crazy dream of yours
Doesn't
doesn't
work
work?"
out.
And I'm like, "There's no plan B. It's gonna work out." In cash 401ks, sold the dream home, sold everything, went from living, with two salaries, and I guess my dream was not that crazy because my husband ended up quitting his job
Yeah.
and staying home with the baby. So we switched roles.
Oh, nice.
So,
Okay.
and then literally, we went from having this life of just living in luxury to just being on his pension, which was $30,000. Uh, but you know what?
What a
Never
shift. Yeah.
never missed a beat. I actually was having this conversation with somebody today. I never missed a meal. We never missed, maybe even going a little vacation. We didn't miss anything, and everything worked out the way how it was supposed to work out.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, it's so hard. I think that fear is the number one thing that stops everyone from doing the next step they want to do. Go back to school, start a new job, switch jobs, start a new company, start your own business. It is so much work. So I'm kind of glad that you do mention that discipline and your training from the Navy, along with your goals and your passion, and you stuck to them, right? Because it is very hard for small businesses to succeed. The more and more I work with small businesses, the more and more I keep finding small little roadblocks or hums, or now you have to have this insurance, now you have to have that for your employees, and it's not just one, it's for all of them. And it's like, okay, so you started this dream, but now you have all these other outside forces that are governmental or legal that you need to be 100% on top of, because otherwise your company will fail,
The
right?
compliance aspect.
Yes, compliance for me is huge. I think that it's great to grow really fast if that's what you want to do and that's one of your goals. And that's how I've done my business too, is like I've grown very slowly on purpose. Why? Because I want to maintain salaries. I want to make sure that the next year I have the money there to keep that person employed, because it's their livelihood. They're just not working for themselves, they're working for you and your dream. And overall, like, I have tremendous gratitude for the people that work for me. The other thing about fear is like, yeah, you fear, what if I don't have a home tomorrow? What if I don't eat, right? So to me, to hear that, okay, you guys made a sacrifice as a family for stepping down your life of luxury down so that you can embark on this bigger dream, that you might be cashing out to your retirement accounts, or you sold your house and you have some equity and you started using all of that for your
A
business.
tax nightmare for you accountants.
Total tax, yes.
And you start cashing out
I was
401k.
like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Yeah, do not cash out your 401. But you know, you're not the first that does that. You know, and there's a SBA program too now. I don't know if it was up and running back then, but it's called Rob. You can cash out your 401 if you're going to buy out a business, which is really good, right? Because then you don't have like tax consequences because you're cashing out your 401. So that's a really good program that, you know, if entrepreneurs are looking to like buy a new business or start a business, that's something new that's up and running.
Let me go back a little bit to the when I say I don't believe in Plan B, because I'm fully committed to Plan A, and
Yes.
is it's about being intentional when you make decisions, right? So even though my boss thought that I made the decision from today to tomorrow to leave, I have been thinking
Yeah,
about it and
of
have been
course.
really thinking about what this could look like. And if I did it, how would I implement my strategies and how would I stick to it? So it's not just about starting a business and not having done your research, not having a marketing plan, not having a business plan if you're trying to get money, a loan,
Yeah.
is being very intentional with whatever decision you make. And then once you make it, once you put a stake in the ground, is committing to it.
Yes, yes. Along with commitment goes discipline, right? You have to stay disciplined and stay the course. Um, Well, I did not start my business the way you started it. My business, I kept my 9 to 5. So I'm a little crazy. I kept my 9 to 5 and I started taking on individuals on the weekends. So I would come home, work at night till like about 11, midnight. And then I would also take clients on the weekends. And then eventually I got to the point where I was like, I think a year and a half into it, I was like, I can't do this anymore. You know, but at that point I had built my book of business, right? And I was like, okay. And that's what I needed to do. And you were like, I'm gonna go 100% in on this new business. And yeah, there's more than one way to start a business, right? You have a service you can provide. Now you're in business. You're exchanging your time and efforts for cash, right? Because it's valuable.
For me, for our company, was our mission is to help people work better together. We focus in culture. But when it comes to having a business, you know, I was not ashamed to do anything. I remember, which I'm sure many Latinos and Latinas can, it resonates with them. When I went to an event with my husband. He was an officer in the military, and there's somebody who assumed because I was Latina
Yeah.
that I clean homes. He actually had the audacity to ask my husband, "Hey, I noticed that your wife is from Colombia. She's Latina. Do you think she'll be interested in cleaning my home?"
Yeah.
And I was not offended, and I just said, "Well, I will do it, but I don't think you can afford me."
Oh wow, I like that. That's such a great comeback. And you know what? That's great. I'm glad you saw that because a lot of people would get offended. But that's just such a classy and beautiful way to come back at it. I think that, yeah, there's that misconception that every Latina's gonna say, okay, I'll clean your house for pay. But no, like you said, your mom's a homemaker. My mom is as well. Very grateful for that. But those cleaning houses days were way done as soon as she came over to the U.S. So
I did it too. When I came to the U.S., I cleaned my neighbor's house. They pay me well. I
yeah,
did have no
it's
problem
decent
doing
work.
it. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it is decent work. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So and I like to hear that too. I think actually one of my first jobs I worked for. Was it AmeriCorps or yeah, it was a program in my high school, but they were like, you have to go clean the streets of Chinatown, and I was like, that's my job, and they're like, yeah, and I mean, I didn't stay there too long because I was just in high school and I was a teenager, but wow, does it humble you so much? It really does, because throughout college I worked at JCPenney on the weekends, and I always was that kid that was like, oh, I can't hang out this weekend because I have to go work. And I would come back to Los Angeles and work for the weekend.
I work in Burger King. That was one of my jobs.
Burger King, yes.
I love
Those are
those
even
cheeseburgers and
tougher.
Whoppers with cheese.
You know what? Guilty pleasure hamburgers. Like I
It's a
love.
commodity with coming from a third world country, right? Where we are. I mean, when I came here, my goodness, Whopper with cheese.
Yeah.
I
Oh
would
yeah.
work for a Whopper with cheese.
Yeah. I so many times, countless times, both my mom and my dad have told me, if we had rice and beans and tortillas for dinner that day, that was a luxury, and that was like so much. Both of my parents Ooh, getting a little emotional. But both of my parents had to both leave their homes when they were younger than teenagers to go find food, right? So
I
yeah.
get it. I get it.
Very grateful for being here in the US at this point and where we're at. Now I have my own tax firm, and you have your own consulting firm. So tell us more about your firm too, because that's really why we're here. And then after that, maybe we can go into the book that you just wrote about as well. So maybe you can give us an example or two of how you work with these companies and what kind of companies you work with.
Well, I do want to. I want to go back and tell you a little of an example, because I do have a lot of examples in the book, and I think for us with coming to the U.S. from third world countries, and having to navigate the English as a second language and the opportunities that we have, it's not easy. It's very, very hard. And for me, I remember being in the corporate world, and somebody actually put in my evaluation that once you learn how to speak English, you're going to be the perfect employee. That was, I think sometimes things happen to you, right? They'll push you to where you need to go so you can take the leap of faith. And crummy things do happen to us, but sometimes it might be bad in the moment. But when we look back, it's like, you know what? I want to go back and say thank you to that guy for putting that in my resume, in my evaluation, because I would still be working where I was working. So the mission of the company is to help people work better together. And I decided to explore that field. I did a lot of work when I was in the corporate world, in the energy industry, in the human capital optimization arena, DEI programs, employee resource groups. I mean, that was really always my passion. And I think it really goes back to my disadvantage as a Latina woman and wanting to find a way to bridge that gap. I created this company overnight, and that's something that I tell people: follow your passion. If you follow the money, you will always be disappointed. So that's what I did. I followed my passion of creating a company to help people work better together. We're a cultural company. We come into organizations who may be having attrition problems, who may be having ethics complaints, who may be having policies and procedures issues. So we come in and we assess the culture of organizations, qualitative and quantitative, and we have created our own software with natural language. And our work has been across the corporate world and the government. I don't know if you're familiar with the U.S. Mint. We did a culture assessment for them, and among many other agencies and companies. So our sweet spot is really diving into the attract, develop, and retaining in measurements of talent in the workplace.
Okay, that's actually really good, yeah, because you're working with government agencies. Have you found any pushback, or when you provide solutions or advice for them on how they can improve? People are like, oh, it takes longer to do something with the government agency, or you have to follow protocol, or it's going to take 6-8 weeks to get something approved. Have you ran into major issues like that?
Well, I think, again, going back to when you're great at what you do, you can be picky with your customers. And you don't have to bid in every contract that you see out there that the government puts out. So for us, is anybody that works with us is because they want to work with us.
Gotcha.
And they want to improve the culture. So we have had the customers where it's just a check in the box. Right? They'd say, oh yeah, I want you to come and fix my culture. But then when they see what it means and they see the results of the culture assessments, then they start to question your processes and your methodology. We have had that. So I think everybody's different. And companies and leaders are starting to realize that when we say bring yourself to work, many people are not ready for that. Okay? Many people are not ready for you to see my true self at work. And they're taking serious that if you don't have inclusion, you're not going to have a culture. And if you have a bad culture, it comes down to a reputation. People are going to talk about it. They're going to go to Glassdoor. They're going to go to all those places and talk about your culture.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, because I was going to tell you, explain a little bit more by what you mean by bring your true self to work, right? Because I think we hear that around, or that lingo right now a lot in the workplace, or and what does it mean to bring your true self to work? As an employee or as the employer, right? Because that's management. That's two different positions in the company.
I'm going to give you an example of, have you heard the phrase when people say we are veteran friendly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Of course.
It doesn't do any good to be veteran friendly. You have to be veteran ready.
Okay.
Okay. It's like having, for example, I'm a military sexual trauma, PTSD survivor. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of baggage that comes with hiring me. So somebody with PTSD, they're not going to have a regular day every day. Some days they have to, they're feeling anxious, or if you get too close to them, or they have health issues. So employers don't really understand that. All they know is, well, Jean Payne didn't show up to work today, or Jean Payne it keeps having car accidents if I'm a driver, or she is not listening, or she's not being a team player. But they don't really understand the root cause, what's causing me to be that. So going back to being your authentic self is, I am proud to say that having an amazing team, a very diverse team. Okay, we have married, we have single, we have gay. It's a very diverse team. Okay.
Yeah.
One of my employees shared with me on his previous jobs is that he couldn't have even a picture of his partner on his desk because he didn't feel comfortable. So imagine coming to work and having to put a facade when you enter an office. How uncomfortable that is. I'm not going to have the best team member at work when he or she or them are hiding their identity. So that's what I mean is that creating an environment where people can bring the true self to work. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready to see that?
Are you ready to see it as the employer and then employees as well, right? Because employees, I think, also need to be trained to how to have these interactions with their coworkers, right? And not necessarily like be their therapist or someone that's going to help with them being able to relieve themselves, but being able to identify what's going on. I think it's the biggest issue, that some people are so unaware. And once you ask why, then it gets tough. So I can see that. I can totally see that. Of course, it gets tough. It takes more effort, which means like now you're going to have to spend that extra 15-20 minutes to take a step back and be like, okay, what just happened? Or why is this happening? And I can see how to someone who is aware of that, that extra step might seem like extra work that they're not being paid for to do, right? Because the job contract only says A, B, C, D, right? It doesn't say like you have to now work or like help your coworkers or work with a manager that's not comfortable working with minorities or vice versa, and stuff like that. I appreciate that. So in terms of like your contracts with those companies, how long do these contracts last? Is it something that it's like you go in for a month or two, or are you working with companies for like 3-6 months at a time?
All the above.
All of the above. Okay.
Yes. So our company, as a culture company, we offer what is called human enterprise optimization solutions. We do cultural assessments. We do training and development, where it's not just delivering a training, but it's really changing behaviors. So it's not just like a standalone unconscious bias, checking the box and they leave the room and they're back to their old ways. So for us, it's a cycle of changing behaviors. We do coaching. We actually just created and launched a program, a coaching, which is certified by the International Coaching Federation. It's called Cultural Humility, leading with cultural humility that nobody has in the country. Because we identified, that's one of the things with my team, I identified is that often there's no cultural humility in the workplace. So yes, thank you so much for noticing my accent, but maybe I am very sensitive, especially after being told that once you learn how to speak English, you'll be the perfect employee, right? Or if you are a male or female, there's the automatic assumption that you have a husband or you have a wife, or that you have children, it would be like, well, you asked me about, do you have children? Well, maybe I'm going through IVF and I couldn't have children, right? So, there's that cultural sensitivity, or somebody with curly hair is that, and somebody's trying to be nice, goes and touches your hair. So the whole program is all about how to have cultural humility in the workplace to increase inclusion and improve retention.
Awesome. I love that. Okay. So, and then we'll put in the show notes as well how someone can reach out to you, whether by email or your website, right? If they want to have you do a consultation or look into how you can help them improve their culture and their companies. Just switching a little bit topics here into your book, because I know you just wrote a book. So tell me the name of the book, and then tell me why you decided to write it.
So I released a book in English called Reclaim Your Worth. I also released one in Spanish that is called Recupera tu Valor. Okay? And then I'm getting ready to release a children's book by the end of this month.
Oh.
And also something that I decided to do with my publisher was create a card deck that literally you use every day. Where you challenge yourself, such as, when I look in the mirror, do I praise or do I judge?
Oh, that's good.
Do I have, who are my cheerleaders? Who are my protectors? Who are my acquaintances? Right? I'm not a diamond to be loved by everybody. People are happy for you when they're happier than you. Remember that. I joined the military. I was sexually abused, assaulted, and harassed for 4.5 years. And I suffered for 20 years with anxiety, depression, suicide ideation in private. Nobody knew my journey, especially when you come from a culture, right? I mean, the first time that something happened to me, I was told by my father, what did you do to deserve it? And the system in the military didn't protect me. I was betrayed by every, members of the military. So I literally suffered in silence for 20 years. And all of this was happening while I was in the corporate world. And even happening as I started the business, which one of the things is like, I was thinking about what held me back as I was doing my business, and I think I could have probably achieved even more if I was not being held down emotionally. And so I realized that I had a lot of trauma in my life, and decided to get help. Later in 2022, I decided to reclaim my worth. And that's what I call reclaim my worth, meaning stop outsourcing my well-being to people around me and taking control of what I needed to do to get better.
Yes.
And those are the premises of the book. In January of this year, I decided to write the book. I wrote 50,000 words in 4 weeks, 35,000 in 3 weeks. So you can imagine how ready I was.
Wow, what an emotional journey for you, right? Because
Very much so.
You have to relive the story, because you're writing it down. I praise you, because that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage, 1, to be vocal about it, 2, to write it down, and then 3, even come on a show like this, because it's once you put it up on the internet, it's gonna be there forever, right? It's not gonna go away. And a lot of like Latino cultures, you don't speak about this stuff, right? Just had dinner with a friend, and she mentioned about how this woman in her parents' hometown in Mexico was killed by one of her relatives, and it's like she's trying to write a short story about it, and it got so intense that she stopped. And it's not her story, but she does feel compelled enough to tell the story. And I looked at her and I was like, you're a great writer. You would do great justice to her story if you finish that, even if it's a small story, like a short story kind of essay. Thank you for being open about that, because you're not the only one that has suffered that, and a lot of it does go in silence, right? Out of shame, or feeling like, was I the one at fault, or was I the one who caused that other person to come on to me and stuff like that, But there's so many factors that are at play, like your job, like it's the Navy, right? Like, you don't want to get kicked out of the Navy dishonorably, of course, right? And because what if things don't work out the way that you think they should work out, which is justice, get you justice, right? So thank you, and I commend you for being open about that. So then the book, who's the audience, and then who are you trying to get that book out to, and where can they find the book at?
Trauma doesn't discriminate. And that is why I decided to write the children's book. I decided to write Reclaim Your Worth. And trauma, Randy, is not a matter of if, but when. And it doesn't have to be physical. It can come as little as a little comment. Just like my aunt when I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
She saw me eating some mashed potatoes with either some pork chops or something. And she told me, if you keep eating that way, you're going to get fat and you're going to get thunder thighs. Just a little comment like that impacted me for the rest of my life, that I developed an eating disorder. And I could go on and on. So this book is intended for all audiences, but I do caution anybody who is under maybe 16 to have parental guidance when they're reading the book. But,
That's fair, yeah.
I am blessed to have the support of my family, my husband. He saw me suffer in silence, meaning that he knew that I was sick, something was going on, but he did not know what it was. He has seen my physical battle.
Yeah.
The sickness. And when I shared that I was going to write this book, he supported me all the way. He says, you need to tell your story. And, I think part of reclaiming my worth is I just don't care. I don't care what people think. Like my mom said, I love diamonds, okay? I'm not a diamond to be loved by everybody. So I want to make a difference, and I want to impact lives. And my book has done that. I'm often receiving emails, messages, Jean, this resonates with me. Jean, this happened to me. And so that's my goal. My goal is to impact as many lives as I can, so they don't have to experience what I did.
Yeah.
Or if they are,
yeah.
Or have, they can raise their hands and get help.
I think the biggest thing is like talking about it, right? And so many Latinos we're taught or raised to be hush hush about so many secret items, or situations.
Yeah, taboo. Don't tell the neighbor.
Yeah, or like, don't let the neighbor see, or something like that. Maybe it's part of our history, too, that, we come from lands that have been conquered by other cultures and stuff, and our cultures have been ripped apart and tried to be taken away from us. I also think that now, I think we should be, like you said, cautious, and if they're under 16, they should have parental consent and stuff, or be guided through a book of yours, because it's going to come with hard topics, right? And they're not easy to process. And then it's interesting hearing my friend, and even you right now, you can process so much by listening to another person's story. It doesn't have to be your own story or something that happens to you. So yeah, thank you for saying that the whole book is for everyone, and it's not just for sexual trauma abuse victims. It's for all trauma victims, that they can pick up the book and resonate with it. I know we wanted to talk a little bit about your company and revenue, and then I was going to ask you, if you're okay with talking about numbers, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think, bringing it full circle, 6-figure jobs, you leave them, you're reducing your way of living. So tell us, where is your company now, 10 years later?
10 years next year.
10 years next year. Okay, so almost a decade, which is great. Where you started, maybe this would be a great comparison. What was your revenue the first year you started, and what's your revenue now?
So the first year, I didn't take a salary for over 2 years, I think close to 3 years, because I wanted to everything and just invest back into the company. The first year, I think I made, $50. It was $50. The following year, around maybe less than 20,000.
Okay.
And then the following year, 150,000.
Yeah, what a jump.
And,
yes.
And then after that, the subsequent year made $1 million. After that, I jumped to 7, and then close to 10. And then with the government is an ebb and flow. I'm sure it's like you win a contract, you shed a contract, you win a contract. So there's quite a bit of vacillation. So for us, It has been, we peaked and then came down a little bit.
Yeah.
Right now, we are around the 7.5, and we're
No.
positioning to be a really nice year for next year. So we think that there's a pretty good chance that we could potentially double that.
Of course, and then government contracts. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that experience too with government contracts because there's certain industries, for example, that work a lot with government contracts and proposals and stuff like that, but like other industries don't, right? So, how has navigating government contracts worked for your business, and what have you learned, and what are the resources you've had to seek out to figure those out? Because I know there's it's constant change, but I know it's very specific, its own field of work.
Well, there's a lot of compliance, very rigid with the way how the paperwork is done, what is
Yeah.
needed to do business with the government, and with proposals. Even you can spend years sending a proposal, and if the guidance is that you have to use a 12.5 font and you use a 12, they throw your proposal out. That's
Gotcha.
just, and I like to diversify because doing non-government work really helped with my professional self-esteem as I was starting the business. Because, I started with language translation and interpretation initially, and it's easy. Hey, you need a piece of paper translated? Yep, it's going to be $50. Email, great, send it. Send it back, here's the bill, pay it. With the government, it's good for financial stability. You can have contracts that are for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and there's a couple of that we
Yeah.
have being awarded. That's gonna, I think it's gonna be like 10 years. So it depends. But I will say, with the great thing with working with the government, if you want to do business, if you're a small business, the best thing to do is Small Business Administration, SBA, SBA, SBA. They have so many resources, but also there's a lot of programs, especially, there's a lot of certifications. For me, I have a women-owned certification. I have a service disabled certification. There's another one, I don't know if you have heard, called the 8A program. Basically, it's based on your disadvantage background. So Latino, African American, different backgrounds. You are, just basically you have to show what maybe an experience or something that you have been through, and you can get that certification. That certification is good for 9 years,
Oh,
10 years, and they can award you a direct award, which means that they can just call you and say, "Hey, Randy, I know you do you do accounting, you do taxes. I have this contract here, and it's up to $4 million. Can you do it?" Yes, I can.
yeah.
So that might be a different show.
Yeah. That would be a totally different show. Yeah. So, and that's the thing, like, I think that with the reason I ask is like because, for example, I do taxes and bookkeeping, so I don't necessarily see myself applying for like government contracts and stuff like that because they outsource to like bigger firms, right? And
Yes.
I'm a small business and I work with a lot of small businesses, right? Also, even freelancers that are becoming incorporated. So that's kind of like my specialty. Yeah. So I might have skipped this earlier, but I just want to say what a full circle moment for you to be like you left the life you had to take a risk. And in the first year, the reward was only $50. And now the reward is 7 million, right? And it's like now you have a company and you're running a company and you're an example to other Latinas that want to start businesses and also Latinos that want to start businesses, right? Like it's just what a full circle to be like you took a risk and it really did pay off. It's just a great example of, if you take a risk, the rewards are greater once they pay out. I'm not saying it's gonna pay out tomorrow, right?
Right.
So I think,
Consistency, right? You have to be patient, and
yeah.
you have to navigate the ups and downs.
Yes, 100%. So thank you so much for being candid about your revenue and stuff like that because not too many people are willing to share that information. And let me ask you this question. As a small business owner, what keeps you up at night? What do you find your thoughts going off to in the middle of the night or before you hit the bed to go to sleep? What is your biggest worry?
What class am I going to go to? Am I going to go to Pilates at 8 o'clock, or am I going to get up at 5 and do yoga?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's big too with a lot of business owners
Yeah.
because if you don't work out, you won't release
Yeah.
that stress,
Yeah.
that anxiety, the
Well,
energy that's pent
that,
up.
but you know
Yeah.
what, Randy? I didn't get there overnight. That's today. And that's one thing I tell business owners is that you have to decide what is it that you want to be. And the last thing that you want to do is to become the brand of your company. That when they think of Gene Payne, they're thinking of T. Verbatim Consulting.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is that those 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock p.m. phone calls, they want Gene Payne.
Yeah.
So what I have done as a company is we have around 75 employees between W-2s and consultants. But what I have done is create a strong and talented team with a great culture and good psychological safety. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was easy. Let me tell you, it took me like 2 years to let go, almost three, very hard. But
Yeah.
I got to a point where I trust them. I know that they have the best interest of the company. And so I do check in with them, but I'm trusting them to run the company. I'm still the CEO,
Yeah.
but my nights probably are a little bit better than they used to be. I used to worry a lot about payroll because you're dealing with families, right? It's not just one employee. If an employee has a spouse with 4 kids, now you're talking, I'm in charge of 6 family members.
Jesus, yes.
Payroll is the biggest one, I would say, that kept me up at
that,
night.
that kept you up at night. And now it kind of doesn't, which is great because that's also a really good full circle moment to know, like, a lot of small businesses, when they're starting off, it's all hands on deck, right? I recently went to a conference and it's a business conference. One of the biggest things this is like that person that first started the company is no longer that same person that is running the company now. So to me, that kind of shows that you're that in the past you worried a lot about payroll, and it's big, right? Because you need to make payroll. People are working for you. That means you owe them money as a business owner.
And the compliance accounts for payroll, you know that, Randy.
Oh, you
All
gotta pay
those
the
taxes,
tax.
all that stuff, and oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
you do not want to mess with well, in California it's EDD, right? But payroll, yeah, you want to make sure those taxes are paid in on time. One, because it's important, right? These people are going to report this stuff in their taxes as well at the end of the year. Thank you for sharing that. And then you did share. I was going to ask you about your team, how big it is, and how was it transitioning from you running the day-to-day operations to now having a team of 75. That's like amazing, and that's also like a dream of so many entrepreneurs, because at the end of the day, when you're running a company in the beginning, it seems like the questions are nonstop. Like you said, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., like, you're getting texts in the middle of the night from a client, or emails at 3 in the morning because they're up, and you're working with clients all over like the East Coast, the West Coast, and stuff like that. So how was that? How did you transition from running everything yourself, day-to-day operations, to getting your team for you to fully trust them, and now they're running the day-to-day operations?
It was very hard. It's one of the toughest things that I have done in my entire life. It was very hard. There was a lot of frustration in the team initially because I would zoom in and zoom out and create chaos. Clients were reaching out to me, employees were reaching out to me. It was pretty chaotic. I was the first year and a half or two.
And did you employ like I know there's a couple programs out there, but did you employ a company to help you with that transition, or is it a program you chose and then you decided to implement it? Like, did you create the strategy on your own? How did that work?
Well, it was not so much about the transition and the change management. It was more about me letting go. And being and one thing that I have found out with my team, Randy, is that admitting when you're wrong, apologizing when you have to, creating a culture of psychological safety where employees can tell you, boss, you're messing up. We typically say, may I have permission to speak freely. That's the what we use. Boss, I don't think you need to be involved with this. I don't think you need to be ceasing. You don't need to be responding to, and be okay with that. Trust your team and admit when you're wrong and apologize when you have to, and exert your position when you have to as well, because
Yeah.
they know that there are times where they might not agree after we have talked about it extensively, based on my experience as a business owner, I may have to say, I get it, I understand it, but I'm making the executive decision. This is how we are going to go. We're going to move in this direction. This is why you explain it to them.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah. So like letting go, because it's your baby too, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I hate to
That's a mistake
like,
right there. That's a mistake. Calling the business is
yeah.
no longer my baby. It's a business.
Yeah.
When I made the transition mentally there, Randy, to say, this is not my baby. This is a business. It's hard when you hear it from your employees. This is not a mom and pop shop, Gene. They told me that. This is not a mom and pop shop.
Wow.
It's not like you're making $500,000. You may be making this revenue, but there's all these expenses and all this operational costing, all this stuff investments that we have to do. So at the end of the day, you might net, but there's a lot to manage.
I see it every day. I work with a lot of companies, and it amazes me how much revenue someone can bring in, but then it also amazes me how much cost is involved with that. Right? And you're like, what? This is what I started this American dream for? You're like, this is what I'm working. I left 9 to 5 to work 12-hour, 24-hour days.
60, 80 hours a week. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, we've got to the couple last questions. And this is just like, I'm just going to, what was the greatest lesson you learned last year as a business owner?
I think I've been to let it go. Be engaged, but let it go. Allow people that you trust to do what they do best.
Okay.
And be okay with people being better than you.
Whoa, that's a big one. I want to be the best one. People want to be the best ones in the companies or the number one. Yeah. I think
ego.
Yeah, it's ego. You're right. It goes back to ego because, you don't have to be the best one at what you do. Yeah. Okay, what piece of advice would you give, any future generation of Latinx entrepreneurs?
It's okay to take risks.
And yours paid off, remember?
Yes.
So it might not be the next year or that same year.
But be patient.
But be patient, yeah. And then this other one, this one's kind of, how can they get a hold of you? Like if someone wants to reach out to you, a student, a business, or whatnot, how do they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
So if they want to, if anybody wants to get a hold of the books and the literature and the services that I provide, is www.reclaimyourworthnow.com. My company, the website is www.tiverbatim.com. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can email me at jibanez@tiverbatim.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me, and I reply to all my emails.
Yeah, I like that you say you reply to all your emails. The more I work with more business owners, it amazes me how, as busy as every business owner is, everyone can find the 5 minutes or 5 seconds to reply to an email or to someone that's looking out for mentorship or something like that.
If it's important to you, you will make time, just like I do to go to Starbucks in the morning.
Yes. I can't live without my Starbucks too. But no, Gene, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, right? And I know your time is extremely valuable, but I appreciate you coming on the show today and being the first one on video too, right? Because this is the first time we're switching the format. It's no longer just going to be audio, but now it's going to be audio and video moving forward. So again, thank you so much, and we'll be in contact soon as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It was great.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with all your friends. This will help our Latinx business community grow, and I invite you to connect to us and send us an email. The email address is randy@rgtaxes.com, and share your questions and comments with us. See you at the next one. Bye now.